Okay, I'm recording, so I'm going to explain again what I'm going to do. I'm going to use this option. I'm going to use the process option, not even the cycle option. So I'm going to use the process just to understand the savings that I can get by using a schedule. Okay, because in this case, my hypothesis is that I have 120 people, 100 people on the first floor, 20 people on the second floor for 12 hours. Okay, so, and this is the energy that I'm supplying per day. So that's the energy that I need on the second floor. That's the energy that I need on the first floor. The energy is always the BTU hours times 12 hours. And this is the total energy of the building. 2,099,520 BTUs, like 2 million BTUs. Okay, so I have duplicated this, just create move or copy, create a copy, and then I have created this one, this schedule. I'm going to delete this. Okay, so I keep just the process option. This is winter, it's not even summer, it's winter. And what I need to do now is the schedule. So we can have here 8 to 9, 9 to 10, 10 to 11, 11 to 12, 12 to 13, 13 to 14. How many hours? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I want 12 hours. 17, 18. Okay, so this is 12 hours. If I have, this is the first hour. I do go down and okay. So from 1 to 12. So this is my schedule now. Okay, so now here I need the number of people. And I'm going to add up both the first and the second floor. Okay, so now I'm not, I will do this first floor and second floor, but in this case, I'm going to add up both. So imagine that the maximum occupancy that I can have is 120, and I want, I have 120 from 10 to 1. So from 8 to 9, imagine that I have 30 people. From 9 to 10, I have 50. Now I have full occupancy. For the lunch break, I have 50 and 50. Now I have 120 again. And then I have 50 people. And finally, I have only 20 in the whole building. So who decides this? Well, this is a conversation that we have with our client. Okay, so if we are designing a school, we can find out how much people we have in that school throughout the day. So we don't have 120 people full time. So we have that schedule. Then the formulas are the same. How many CFM per person do we have? We have 20. So I can go down. So we have 20 CFM per person. Here we have the total CFM. The total CFM equals the number of people times CFM per person. And now I drag this down. And I have different CFM at different times. Okay, so I'm using the same columns so that I don't have to change anything. That's the total CFM. I have to turn this, because this is CFM, cubic feet per minute. I have to turn this into pounds per hour. So I can use the same 60 minute and 0.075. So if I go all the way down, this doesn't change. It doesn't depend on the schedule. The air density is the same, and the minutes per hour is they are the same. But here in this one, it's the total CFM times 60 minutes per hour times the density. Then I go down. So this is the flow in pounds per hour. What about the indoor and the outdoor enthalpies? If I consider that the indoor conditions and the outdoor conditions don't change in 12 hours, and in winter, this is likely, okay? So in winter, the temperature is steady. Maybe it's colder at night, and it's slightly warmer in the midnight, but at working hours, we can consider that the indoor and outdoor conditions are the same. Okay, so I'm going to select the same enthalpy, 22.7 and 6.5 throughout the year, throughout the day. Okay. And now this one, remember that this is airflow. Because we created this, we calculated this in two different ways. We use the chart to calculate this process, but we can do airflow times indoor minus outdoor enthalpy. Okay, so this value is the same as this one, kind of. So in this column, I can have the airflow times indoor minus outdoor enthalpy. Okay, there you go.
What was that?
This formula, it's the pounds per hour times indoor enthalpy minus outdoor enthalpy. Don't forget the parentheses, because without the parentheses, it doesn't work. Okay, but now the time is different because this is just 1 hour. Okay, so I don't have this times 12 hours. This is from 8 to 9. So the time here is always 1. It's 1 hour. So what's the energy now? Well, it's absurd, okay, but if I multiply this times 1 hour, so I will have the same number, but the period of time that I'm considering is 1 hour. So I can do this per minute, per second. Okay, yes, I can. But let's do this by hour, and I think it's enough. So that will be this number times the period of time. Here it was 12 hours, but now it's 1 hour. And then I do this, and I should have the same numbers that I have here, okay? So what's the total? The total energy is, I have to insert this function, the sum of all these columns. There you go. So if I format cell and I don't want any decimal places, but I want a 1000 separator. Okay, so this is amazing, BTU. Okay, Just by taking into account the schedule. So by placing sensors in this room. So the sensors, what do they measure? They measure the, for example, the CO2 concentration. So we expel CO2 and the human beings, we expel a certain amount of CO2 per hour. Okay, so depending on the CO2 concentration, the sensor, okay, so if I have this CO2 concentration and one person releases this CO2, so that means that there must be 50 people here or 20 people. Okay, so by placing these kind of sensors, I can understand how many people I have every single hour. Again, I can do this more accurately every minute, every second, but we don't do this every second. Okay, so usually we have rooms. If this lasts 2 hours, so for 2 hours, we will have kind of the same amount of people. Okay, so we don't have to do this every minute, every second. So every hour, it's fine. And instead of multiplying the power that I need times 12, I multiply the power that changes depending on the occupancy. And then I add everything up and I save a lot. So this is 2 million. And now this energy is 1,400,000. So I'm saving not half, but quite a lot of energy. How can I turn this into dollars? Good question. Because now I have to make another important decision. The fuel. Do I run it with fuel or do I run it with electricity? Okay, so let's look at the difference because we have CO2 emissions and we have energy itself, we have money. So how can we take that into account? This is the energy. So we can provide this energy with fuel, burning gas, or we can provide this energy with electricity. Okay, so let's do this fuel. In this case, we are considering gas. So in this case, we need a price. We need dollars per therm. If we look at the energy bill in New Hampshire, I want examples, energy bill, gas in New Hampshire. I want images. Okay, so this is it. So we have here understanding your bill. That's important. Okay, so what do we have here in our bill? We live in Main Street in your town, and we have the customer, your name, the amount. Okay, so we all understand the dollars. So it's 310 per month. But what are we paying for here? We need the most important data. It's something that we can't find here. Okay, is it here probably? Meter number, percent usage, number of days. As you can see, it's quite difficult to understand what we are paying, okay? So here we have in a kilowatt hours, so that means that this is electricity. This is the electric supplier service, okay? So everything is electricity here. And what are we paying? Okay, so we have these kilowatt hours, and this is the price per kilowatt hour, you see? It's I want to make it bigger. Okay, so when you're in front of your electricity bill, first, is it electricity or is it gas? In this case, it's electricity. Second, we have our energy consumption. It's 291 kilowatt hours times, and this is the price of the kilowatt hour. It's 0.16330. Okay, a lot of decimals. And the period is from April the 8th until April the 30th. Okay, it's like 22 days. It's not a month, but this is what we get. Okay, so this is what we have to understand. We have to understand the total consumption, and then we have to understand the price of the energy. So that would be the price for electricity. Okay, so if we have electricity, this is what we end up paying. And this is the what is this? So that's the energy that we consume, and that's the price. Then we have the supplier energy service. They charge you $21, so your consumption is 47. They charge you 21. Why? Why is that? What is this electricity supplier service? Well, or the supplier charges, or well, we have a discount rate, and so why does this have not to do with the consumption itself? You don't know, because the fact that you are connected to the grid, they charge you for that. Even if you don't consume anything, if your house is locked and nobody's living there and everything is off, if you are connected to the grid, they charge you. Does it make sense? Well, it makes sense because it's not their fault. They have connected your house to their grid. You are not using the house. It's up to you. Okay, so disconnect your house, and then they won't charge anything. But you have the ability to go to that house to start to turn on the lights, turn on the heating system. You have the ability to do that. But so I'm on holidays this month. I haven't been in my house for 2 months, and I still have to pay some bill, some. Yeah, do I have to pay? Yeah, because you have the ability to use it because you are connected to that. And then we have, I think here, okay, so look at this. Oh, this is distribution charge, distributed solar charge, energy efficiency charge, renewable resource charge, transition charge, transmission charge. What the hell is that? We don't know. That what? Yeah, but they charge you $46. This is not what you're consuming. Those are distribution. Okay, so they charge you because okay, the company, we have spent a lot of money on bringing you the electricity from the electric plant to your house. Okay, so I need to charge you for that because I spent millions of dollars on all these wires that are over our heads when we walk down the sidewalk. Okay, and what is this energy efficiency charge? What is this renewable source charge? I don't dare ask. Because probably this is a task or this is a subsidy, or it has to do with subsidies to renewable energies. Kind of. At least in Europe, is that we have to pay more because they are changing the grid from the traditional electric plants that burn fuel to renewable sources with windmills or wind generators and solar plants somewhere. And we have to pay for it. As consumers, we have to pay for this transition. So they have a transition charge because we are transitioning. Okay. So we need to understand that electric bill because and the problem is that all this doesn't depend on architects. So there are $40 in this bill. We have the total bill was like 310. Okay, so out of 310, the electric service is 40 something. This is what we consume of electricity. We have 41. It's almost the same amount of money that we consume. So this is something else. Transition to renewable energies, a tax for whatever, another tax for whatever. You have to pay the company the money that they have spent for installing all the devices, or they are changing the devices. Okay, so there are a lot of things that we don't know what it is, but we pay for it. Almost the same amount of money that we actually consume. But I can't control this. I can test different companies to see what they charge me for this, and then I can select different companies. But I bet that most of the companies, they will have the same charges other than your consumption. Okay. Anyway, so this is electricity, but I would like to find the gas bill. Let me see if we can understand the gas. Your natural gas bill explained. Okay, so that's what I want. Whoop.
Money.com has transformed our company. Liberty is proud to provide safe, reliable, natural gas service to our customers. Look, and the account number. Also at the top, in large, easy to find text, is the amount owed and the date of the due date. Each year usage for different years.
Okay, so that's important. If the company is reliable, they will show you the amount of energy that you are using throughout the year. If this is gas is usually for heating, so it makes sense that we use more gas in winter than in summer. Okay, so that makes sense. Here with this one, you can compare what you spent this year and what you spent last year. Okay, so this is to understand what you are doing. So in January this year, the current 12 months, those are the prior 12 months. Okay, so this is this year and this is last year. So this year I have spent more money or more energy in January. It can be because it's colder than last year, or I'm doing things, I don't know, maybe I'm leaving my windows open and I'm spending more money on that. Okay. But if the company is reliable, you will understand this. And but I need to see the amount of due, and I need to see how they charge you. Okay, that's it. That's it. Okay, so this is the information. It's difficult to understand, and I think they do this on purpose. Because here we have the distribution adjustment, the weather normalization. What the hell is that? Okay, so there are a lot of things that we have, but if we have gas, this is dollars per therm. Okay, and then this is the customer charge in 30 days. So this is the amount of energy that you have consumed, the amount of therms. And this is the distribution charge. It depends on the network, the distribution adjustment. Who knows what that means? And the weather normalization. Okay, but you have to understand that when you're paying the the energy bill, you are paying for your consumption, and then you are paying for things that they try to explain what it means, but it's difficult to understand. Okay. So what do we do? Well, I will try to understand this. I want to know the energy bill, gas price per therm. Okay. It varies by location, but the average cost is 0.95. If I want to do this in New Hampshire. Okay, in New Hampshire, it's way more expensive, 1.6 in April 2024. I don't know now, but in April 2024, the cost of gas in New Hampshire, it was 1.63 per therm. Okay. So if we have this fuel, if we have this gas, the price is 1.663 in dollars per therm. Okay. How do we turn? We can probably include another line here. How can we turn this into therm? One therm is 100,000 BTU. Okay, so that will be equals this number divided by 100,000. So we have 21 rounding up 21 therm. So what's the price per therm? So the price per therm equals, no, the total price equals 21 therm times $1.63. And this is $34 per day. Okay, so we are doing this one day. So $34 times 360. So there will be more. Well, it's not 360 because that depends on the indoor conditions. Anyway, if we do exactly the same thing here. So now we all understand dollars. Okay. So if I don't take into account that schedule, if I don't regulate the airflow, I end up paying $34 per day. If I do this, I pay $23 per day. In January, times 31 days, so I can pay $900,000 in January. we can afford it. I mean, $20 per day. Well, I save. It's better paying 23 than 34. So I'm saving $11 per day. So $11 times 30 days, I'm saving $400 per month in January. Well, it's not bad. Okay. This is a small building. We have a building with 2 floors, 100 people on the first floor, 20 people on the second floor. So that can be a small shop, whatever. So imagine that I'm the tenant, so I'm renting that space. Well, it makes sense. So if I can save $400 per month in the energy bill, I think it makes sense. And this is just by using the energy, okay? And I have considered just this option. I have considered the process option. Can I consider the cycle? Yes, I can, but it's slightly more complicated. So let's consider now the cycle. So this is schedule, process. Okay, so now I'm going to copy this one, move or copy. I create a copy, and that would be schedule. Using the option cycle. Okay, and now I will compare the savings. So this is what I pay without doing anything. I don't recirculate the air, and I consider that I have full occupancy throughout the day. So I pay $34. Okay, now what is the improvement? I don't recirculate, but I have a sensor and I supply exactly the right amount of air at every hour. Okay, I save $11. $11, it's a lot. Out of 30, 34, $11 is 1/3. Okay, so I'm saving 30% of the energy. But what do I do with the cycle now? Again, I'm going to work only in winter. I'm going to delete this. Okay, and now I'm dealing with this option. But now I have different things. I can copy the same schedule here and the same number of people. Okay, so I have 8 to 9, 9 to 10, and this is the same amount of people that I have. Here I have 20 and 100, 120. But now I have to do something different. What about the heat load per person? The heat load per person and the wet load per person, they are going to be the same. Okay, so this is 350 and 0.35. Remember, heat load per person, where does it come from? It comes from this. And here I had this, and depending on the level of activity, I have sensible heat and latent heat, and 350 is 245 plus 105. It makes sense having these comments because now I remember where this 350 comes from. And the wet load per person, again, if I come here, there was another table. Yeah, so remember that it was 0.7 pounds per hour with 2 people. So 1 people would be 0.35. So that's why I had this 0.35 here. Okay, so that depends on the people itself. It doesn't depend on the time of the day. So I can have the same values because that depends on the activity that the people are doing in the building. And this is per person. So what do I need now? I have to multiply the number of people times the heat load per person. So that would be equals the number of people times the heat load per person. And I go all the way down. Okay, so this is number of people times 350, and this is number of people times 350. I have to do that now because I don't have 120 people. I have different occupancy at different times of the day. What about the wet load? The wet load is the number of people times the wet load per person. So this column will be equals number of people times the wet load per person. And then I go all the way down. Okay. So I can do this because that's a figure that I need. Oh, sorry. The numbers are different because this is BTU per minute. I have to divide this by 60. Okay, so this number here is a number of people times a heat load per person, but it's in BTU hours, units. I have to divide this by 60. There you go. Okay, so those numbers should be similar. Yeah, when I have full occupancy, it should be the same. So 583 plus 117, it's 700. Okay. I don't want any decimals. Okay, so I have this without decimals. What is the problem now? The problem now is the airflow, that the airflow changes. Okay. So that's CFM times minutes per hour. So I have to open here CFM. So the airflow now it's going to change, and the airflow is this one in pounds per hour. So it's the total CFM times this times that. Okay, so how can I do this? What's the total airflow? It's the number of people times 20 times 60 times 0.75. Okay, so that equals the number of people times 20 CFM per person times 60 minutes per hour times the air density. Okay, so now the CFM is 30 people, and it will change as we change the occupancy during the day. The CFM per person doesn't change, minutes per hour doesn't change, and air density doesn't change. So if I do this now, if I drag this down, I have values that I don't like. So why is that? Because I need to place dollar. Okay, so I want this number to change. So I leave this number like this. But if I want to keep this 20 CFM per person, 60 minutes per hour in the air density, I have to type dollars before the letter and before the number. Okay. So now if I drag it down, I have something that works because I keep going down in terms of the number of people, but the CFM per person, the minute per hour, and the air density, they are fixed numbers. So I can scroll down and just to check, Okay, I have 130 people times 20 CFM per person times 60 times 0.075. And I do this by typing dollar before the letter and before the number. But this is without dollars because I want to go down. As I drag this down, I want to move down in this direction.
Now we have to continue, and we have to be careful because if we use this, we need to make sure that we are using the same conditions that we used for the cycle 1 test. Okay, so remember that we did this, so we have 72 and 60%, 72 Fahrenheit and 60% relative humidity. These indoor relative humidity, these indoor conditions are at 0.5. Okay, so that's the return conditions, and the outdoor it's 20 and 75. So that's always the same. So so we have to check the conditions that we tested. This is the first floor, for example. So we have the heat load 583, the wet load is 35, and the flow, the total flow of the first floor, it was 9,000. Okay, so if we test this, the cooling and heating load was 889 and 959. Okay, so now with these indoor and outdoor conditions, now we have to change these elements. Okay, so from 8 to 9, this first hour, those are the conditions. We have the heat load, we have the wet load, and we have the CFM here. Not the CFM, but the pounds per hour. This is pounds per hour. Okay, because here we multiply times the minutes. Okay, so this is not the CFM, this is the airflow in pounds per hour. Why do we have to 2,700? Because we have just 30 people in the building. Okay, so that's the load per person, that's the wet load, and that's the airflow. Okay, so let's do that. Heat load 135. Wet load 10.5. Airflow 2,700. If I compute and submit, these are the numbers that we have. The cooling load is 266. And the heating load is 287. Okay, what's next? This is 9 to 10. The heat load is 292. The wet load is 17.5. Submit. And the numbers, oh, and I have to change the airflow, sorry. The airflow is 4,500, 4,500. I have to change 3 things, okay? Then submit, and that's the cooling load, 444, and 479 heat load. Now here we have the full occupancy. So the heat load is 700. The wet load is 42, and the vent flow is 10,800. I submit, and this is it, 150, no, 1,067, and 1,150. That's the cooling, and that's the heating, okay? And so on and so forth. If we have the same occupancy, the same flow, and the same heat load, these 3 numbers are the same. And it happens the same here, okay? Because those are the same conditions. If I have 4,500, I can copy this here, so it's not that difficult. Okay, as long as I have the same conditions. And finally, I have, well, not finally, but I have 4,500 here. So these values are the same. Okay, so when I have the same flow, the same occupancy, I can copy the same values. I don't have to do it again. And then this is different. Okay, so I have to run this case in which the heat load is 117, the wet load is 7, and the airflow is 1800. I submit, and I have this 191. No, sorry, 191 is the heating load, and the cooling load is 177. There you go. So cooling load 177, heating load 191. Okay, correct. Okay, so now we have good news because this is the total cycle 1. Okay, so I have to add this and this. I have to add the cooling load and the heating load. So that's the total heat plus cool. Okay, and this is times 60 because we need BTU hours. Okay, so that's BTU per minute, and this is BTU per hour. Remember that we multiply this times 60. The same thing, we have to do this. So we have to calculate the total heating and cooling load. We add up this and multiply times 60, and that's it. So what's the good news? If we add all these up and we compare the heating load that we had at the beginning with the basic option and multiply this times 12 hours, 2 million BTUs. If we add up, or if we do this with the cycle, okay, with the cycle, we found out that we can save some energy, a lot, from 2 million to 1 million and 600,000. Okay, so it's 20% or 20 something percent. That's good. But if we run this with the schedule, those are the savings. So we go from 2 million BTU to 1 million BTU. So it's half. Okay. You can tell me, oh, you are adding up BTU hours, and here we have BTUs. You are right, because the time here is 1 hour. Okay, so from 8 to 9, what is the time? 1 hour. From 9 to 10, it's 1 hour. Okay, so we can do this. So that would be equals this times 1. So we end up having the same figure. But if we want to be accurate, because here, what's this? This is the load times the time. So if we don't take into account the schedule, if I supply the same heating load or the same energy load, because this is cooling and heating, okay. So if I supply the same BTU hours for 12 hours, and I don't take into account the occupancy of the people, how it varies, this is the energy that I end up spending. If I use this, that's the energy that I have to compare. So now, if I compare the first option without recirculating air, the second option, using the cycle, I recirculate the return air. So there's a 20% savings here. But if I take into account the schedule that I don't have the same occupancy throughout the day, so that's the total occupancy, 100 on the first floor, 20 on the second floor. So the total occupancy would be 120, but that happens only 6 hours a day. The rest of the time, we don't have that occupancy. So if I take this into account, I can save half the energy, half the money that I spent using the first option. Okay, so this is very important. This is the effect of recirculating the air. This is the effect of having sensors controlling the occupancy every hour. We can control this occupancy every minute, every second. It doesn't make sense. I think controlling the occupancy every hour, it makes sense.